All right, good stuff. All right, welcome back, everybody. Let's see who we got here. Looks like we got the whole team. We just need to get Justin Wells on board now. Hopefully Justin will remember to come. Otherwise, we'll go back in the class. All right, we'll give Justin a minute or two. You're gonna have to tell a dad joke. He comes late. He's a lunch and learn speaker. Did anybody do any research on Justin? No. Sam, good. Yeah, Carter. Hi, Carter.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Is Justin joining us today? Do you know?
He should be on any minute.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, should have come on board.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, of course. Yeah, we got everybody here. So usually these guys all get here on time because if they're late, they have to tell a dad joke. So we can decide if we want to make Justin tell one or not.
Oh, well, he is a dad, so he should be primed for it.
He should be primed for it.
Oh, I see him coming on now.
Yep, I just saw him join. Justin, what's going on, brother?
Hello. Sorry, I had a scheduling conflict on conference rooms. I had to shuffle real fast. We had the team had to get some equipment out for some clients, so I had to jump. So apologize for the delay.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Were you able to get online there?
Oh yeah, great. So we're getting used to being back in the office a little bit. So it's it's a new world.
Yeah, well, I think everybody is. It's like now are you guys fully back, or what are you guys?
No, we're still 100% remote. And so we've made it kind of optional to use the office, and the office is here as a tool for the team, just like any of the other tools we have in the quiver. And so if it's more useful to come in, use the team for the office for the day, do team meetings and things like that. But all of our staff are 100% remote.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and there's some things where it's helpful, like setting up equipment. It's really helpful to have a lab and things like that, a bench and stuff like that. So that's what the team is doing today. But thanks for having us.
Yeah, no, glad to have you. So we're gonna go ahead and put this onto our Facebook channel, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So you can get a little shout out for Interlates. So we're gonna go live here. So guys, something we try to do, I've been not doing a great job of getting it done. So we're gonna try live streaming these. Eventually we'll have it go over to everything, our YouTube channel and Facebook, so that, a lot of our, as military guys join in when they're on their, terminal leave, or they're thinking about going into sales, or they heard about us, or they're deployed overseas. I think Sam may even have started that way, listening to some of our Facebook streaming things. So really glad that we have all you guys here today. I see we got another guy here, Carter. So I'd be interested to hear who Carter is. Carter, I'll introduce myself. My name is Raleigh Wilkins. I'm the CEO and founder of Sales Platoon. So we're a rather unique organization in that we train active duty military when they're making the transition out, anywhere between 90 days to 1 year. They get apprenticeship training with us in sales. So sales is one of those rather unique fields where you can take all the courses in the world you want. It doesn't make you a salesperson. It's kind of like being a high school athlete and thinking you're a Marine because you watch Full Metal Jacket. It doesn't quite work that way. You actually have to get there and go through the boot camp. So we have the boot camp plus an apprenticeship. So when they graduate, they truly have the skills necessary. They're only in week 2 right now, Justin, just so you know. It's a 12-week program. These guys are all, the first 12 weeks are pretty intensive. So for Carter's purposes, these guys are in week 2. But in week 2 already, they're going through murder board exercises. They're learning how to be evaluated. They're learning how to schedule and sell time. They're learning how to overcome the top 7 sales objections. They're doing it with me. Starting next week, they're live on the phone. And so Justin and I are exploring, does this make sense for us to, use Interlace potentially as a use case or one of our partner companies that gives them real exposure. Right now, we have everything from a software as a service to a managed service to a product. So they're getting exposure from the full gamut of sales that they're going to do. So they at least have that first 90 days of sales experience under their belt before they go and even join a company. So that's essentially us. That's me. I'm a former Marine myself. Spent 6 years active, 2 years in the inactive reserves after that, although I didn't drill for that full 2 years. So I guess 8 years total. Got out officially finally in December of 2023. Came off active duty August 11th, 2001. So talk about just barely missing the call to action. It really felt like I'd missed out because I called the command and I said, "Hey, 4th Avial Battalion, this is Sergeant Wilkins. I'm ready to go. What are we doing?" They're like, "We'll call you if we need you." So I realized I was just a hand in a bucket of water, and it was a very disturbing time for me because you train all that time and then you finally get the call and then you're stuck. And so I went into a bunch of different roles, eventually found my way into sales. Did not think it was going to be a career for me. It was a stopgap on the way to becoming a lawyer. Obviously, I never became a lawyer. I abandoned that in fields in the pursuit of really trying to help companies solve big problems. And that's what salespeople do. Fell in love with it. Spent 20 years building my life up to SVP of sales, or down if you think of it that way, and a point of being of no value to the organization other than strategically. And then decided to give back by creating Sales Platoon. So that's essentially me. I'd love to hear a little bit about your background, Carter, what brought you to the call today. Then we'll kick it over to Justin. And Justin, as you know, you got the full hour, it's yours to do with and as you fit. So.
Okay, great. Yeah, Carter, would you like to do an intro?
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks so much for letting me jump on the call today. Just a quick background on me. I am a transitioning Navy officer. I'll be officially out of the Navy at the end of July. And I am today doing a SkillBridge internship at Interlaced with Justin. My plan after I end the internship is to go to business school this fall. I'll be attending Wharton in Philadelphia, and long-term plan is still a little bit TBD, but looking forward to exploring some options while I'm in school, and also leaning towards trying to go into a leadership position in a tech company right away after I graduate. I've been in the Navy for 8 years now. I've been stationed mostly on the West Coast, California and Washington. And I just spent the last 3 years stationed in Naples, Italy, where I was working for Naval Forces Europe, Naval Forces Africa. Pretty exciting time to be in Europe with COVID. And then I left just as the invasion from Russia into Ukraine was kicking off. So a lot of stuff going on there, but really excited for this internship with Interlace and really excited to be on the call today. So thanks again.
Okay, great. No, glad to have you. So, all right,
All
good
right,
stuff. I assume everybody can see Justin's screen here. So
yeah, you should see a screen that says Sales Platoon carving out a niche.
Yep.
All right. Well, hey everybody, I'm Justin Wells. I'm the CEO at Interlace. I'm a Navy veteran. I'll get into a little bit of my background and story as we progress through the presentation. I've got a bunch of slides. I wanted to make it more of a conversation than a presentation, so I'll pause and ask questions, or to allow everybody to ask questions and things like that. But for the agenda for today, what I thought we could do is go through just a little bit of me. I'll share a little bit of my background, career journey, etc. Give an overview of Interlaced, who we are as a company, why we do what we do, who we serve, etc. And then deep dive into our sales function. So talk about how do we generate leads, how do we close business, how do we maintain customer relationships and upsell, cross-sell, etc. And then pause for Q&A at the end. And so if Carter will help me just stay on track as well, and he can fill in the blanks. He's been on board for about what 10 weeks or 8 weeks, Carter, and is doing an awesome job. And so he'll help fill any gaps where I have. Everybody aligned with the agenda? Is there any questions before we jump in? All right. So getting into my story, I grew up in rural Indiana, a small town called Buck Creek. That picture on the top left is Axl Rose. He's actually from the same small town where I grew up. I live in Poway, California. I have two small children, a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old, and a wife. I got married 12 years ago, and she's been with me through the whole military journey. Several deployments and workups and transition and things like that. And flew helicopters in the Navy for about 10 years after attending the Naval Academy. I was a C- student at the Naval Academy, and then went to UCSD Business School as part of my transition program. So that's a little bit of my background. I started thinking about transition a few years before I got out. I got out of the Navy in 2017. Prior to that, I just got really interested in business. I went back to UC San Diego Business School here in San Diego. They had a really good innovation and technology program to learn about innovation and technology business. I started a company with some friends as part of the business school. Just kind of went out and started like trying to do business development, trying to meet people, meet investors, et cetera. And that was a big part of my transition, was just getting out and doing, which is why I love the Sales Platoon program and the SkillBridge fellowships. Just there's no better way to learn than by doing, and doing it with people who have been there before you. And so that was a big part of my transition, was trying to start a business and working with investors and working with other people to get out and just getting after it. That business ultimately, we shut it down right as I was transitioning out of the Navy, and transitioned into a job at Intuit in strategic partnerships and business development. So going out and forming partnerships with other companies, figuring out what our product managers needed to do, and going out and talking to other companies to form partnerships to try to do it for our customers faster, sooner, better. That was my role there. I learned a ton, got to negotiate some pretty big contracts, got to work with a bunch of fintech companies and technology companies. So I got to learn a broad set of skills, and then internal to the role at Intuit, and something that is, I think, also really valuable in a sales or business development focused role, is you get to work with all the functions, right? You get to work with finance, accounting, you get to work with product, marketing, and really get to help solve problems for them as kind of the face or the pointy end of the spear of the company. You're outside the walls, bringing back insights. And so that's one of the things I don't think we talk about it enough in sales or business development, is bringing back learnings from the customers or partners, and figuring out how to make our product better. I got recruited to come and take over Interlace in the fall of 2019. Interlace is a private equity owned IT services firm. So Raleigh mentioned you've got a few partners today that you're learning about. And Interlace is a managed services provider, meaning we're managing IT programs and IT departments for our clients. And so we work with small businesses and help them do everything on their kind of back office administrative IT, manage their emails, manage their file sharing, their network, their antivirus, all their cybersecurity tools, et cetera. And so at Interlace, traditionally, over the past few years, I've worn a lot of hats. In the CEO role in a small business, you do end up wearing a lot of hats, and I've been wearing the finance leadership hat, kind of the cultural steward hat, strategy, sales, and then marketing. And as the business has grown, I've taken off some of those hats and given them to other people. Any questions on my transition before we pivot and talk more about Interlace? No? Okay, cool. So getting into Interlace. Oh yeah, got a question. Looks like you're Georgino.
Hey Justin. Hey, thanks for coming. I just had a question for you. So my first question is why did you decide to leave the Navy? Why leave your comfort, your security? Was it just the up tempo was too much for you and your family, or what do you?
Yeah, I think at the stage I was at, I had done 4 years at the Naval Academy and then 10 years active duty. And I felt like I had done everything I wanted to do in the military, and just kind of looking ahead, like we got to do some really cool missions in the helicopter. My last 4 years, I was an instructor pilot. And so I was looking at going back out to sea again. To your point, op tempo had been pretty high when I was in my sea tour. And I was looking at, what do I want to give? My wife had also sacrificed quite a bit. And so I felt like I owed it to her just to try to stay in one location for a while and let her have a chance in her career. She had, made a few career sacrifices for us. And so I think that was just kind of a summation of factors. One of the things though is I was just getting really genuinely passionate about business and innovation, and wanted to make a jump then. So those were all the reasons that led to my transition.
What about the business? So you said the business got you interested. Like, what about it? Was it the potential that you can make? Was it the networking or what?
Yeah, I think more so it was just this overall concept of like business management and innovation. I started listening to a bunch of like startup podcasts. There's a How I Built This from NPR with Guy Raz. Just like they tell stories of founders who've had an idea and gone out. So I was just really passionate. And I think I had this from growing up. My father had a small business for a while when I was growing up. My uncle was in small business. I was just always really passionate about learning about entrepreneurs. Like, it's really interesting. Somebody who has an idea, and then all of a sudden, like, look at Raleigh had an idea, and now all of a sudden there's 30 plus people going through a cohort, getting sales training. It's just a really special thing for me. And so I wanted to learn more about that. My dad's business failed a few years after he took it over. And so I was always kind of curious about like, why is that? And why do some businesses thrive and some don't? And just always just really inspired by people who go out and take that leap to entrepreneurship. Yeah,
Thank you.
I think Eric's got his hand up.
Yeah, Justin, I appreciate it. Thanks for coming in. Fascinating story to leave the service after 10 years and follow your passion. Well, with the instability of the markets and everything like that, did you find the transition to be really quick, especially transitioning into the business sector and then 2 years into it and then recruited over to Interlace? It's just in 5 years. It's just really fast. Coming from 20 years in the military, it's not nearly as fast as Raleigh had mentioned.
Yeah, for sure. There is no like path, right? There's no ladder, no just kind of development path in business, right? You kind of have to build that for yourself. And I think it was a combination of all the experience from the military and then doing the things that I did in preparation for getting out. So like, if you look at it like, okay, from military 04 to CEO essentially in 5 years. And I don't think it was necessarily that. Like I had started, going back and getting really passionate about business a few years before transition, doing the MBA nights and weekends, trying to start a business nights and weekends, networking. I did a few internships working for angel investors and learning about the venture capital world and things like that. Again, like nights and weekends. And so that's why I'm so passionate about the transition programs, because it makes those things like readily available. And so to answer your question, like I started really the transition started in like 2014, about 3 years before getting out. And so I feel like I've been on this path for a little bit longer, and it does take time. It does take time to transition. And I've been fortunate. I think it's just by nature of, being on a few different paths, like you don't know what paths are going to open up. So I've been fortunate of being in the right place at the right time a few times as well. Yeah, Sam.
Hey Justin, thanks for coming on board. It's great to see another Navy guy out here and an aviation person. I'm also in aviation and in the Navy myself. So with that in mind, like how much of your experience that you learned really helped you when you got into the actual business field?
Yeah, I think the intangibles are going to be there for everybody, right? Can you solve problems together? Do you know how to operate in a team? Do you know how to operate within a structure and then also try to influence the structure a little bit? So showing up on time, having a plan, the discipline, those kind of things, those kind of intangibles I think are there for everybody. And sorry, did I capture the essence of your question?
Well, yeah, for the most part, like, in the aviation world, you're like thrown into so many different scenarios. Like I saw some of your roles that you did. So it sounded more like you were in the RAG command.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming what, HSM 41 probably.
Yeah, I was at 41. Yep.
Yeah. So
we
like
just hired a logistics tech from 41 as well on Monday.
Oh yeah.
So I'm
yeah.
super proud about that.
I'm for sure that'd be great help for you too, especially with guys coming from the RAGs. But my thing is like you know, when you're in those type of position, I was just at a test and evaluation. You're thrown everywhere in different scenarios, and I'm wondering if that's going to help you out when you're in different scenarios in the business world, especially in sales.
Yeah. One of the things I think about in sales and in for all of our roles, I like people with a diverse set of backgrounds. Like when you think about filling out the team, not just about hiring like an individual, but one of the things that I think is really helpful is to have people with a diverse set of backgrounds and experiences and things like that. In our industry, a lot of times we'll have, you know, people that have grown up in the industry. We have our logistics leader came from Twitter doing something completely different than he does now, but he's able to pull those experiences from working at Twitter. He's able to pull experiences working. He worked at a BMW dealership before that. And I think just having a broad set of experiences, and that's what the military veteran community really does, is like, okay, you're thinking about how do we structure operations and things like that. When you have such a large organization, you get down like policies and procedures and like all those things. And you're really, really well versed at like running in an experience or running in a well-run organization. And I think being able to pull elements of that to what we do is really valuable. And so that's what I think is most valuable about beyond the intangibles that we touched on. But for veterans that are coming in and who've done, you know, different commands, have gone to sea in a small detachment, you know, have gone to battle in a small team, those kind of intangibles, bringing those kinds of experiences into the team. I think that you just have a lot of exposure to different team structures, different types of policies, procedures, all those kinds of things to pull from, which is really strong. And that's what I valued about individuals, but also as I think about building out the team, having a broad set of experiences, I think you can solve problems a lot quicker that way.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Great. Well, if there's no other questions on transition, we'll go ahead and move on a little bit. So just getting into what is Interlaced. So Interlaced, as I mentioned, is a private equity backed organization. The founders sold the company to investors in 2017. That group is called Evergreen Services Group. They buy and hold, meaning they never intend to sell, the highest performing IT service firms in the country. So in our network, we have about 35 companies. Interlace is an independently run LLC. I'm the CEO. We have a president and COO, my partner Jeff. But we report to the investors, but we run the company. In the world of IT service, there's about 35,000 companies across the United States. In that world, that can range, there's a variety of business models. There's something called break fix, meaning, you know, Sam's business has a computer that's broken. We show up, we bill $100 an hour, we walk away, fix the computer. So that's for, you know, on the kind of starter package of how do I start to need to get help for my IT or for my IT program for my company. As you move up the ladder a little bit, there's something called the block of hours model. And so that's like, hey, Alex, your organization needs 20 hours a month of service. And if we get to that, if we go over, we'll bill you an overage and things like that. And then on the more premium side of IT service, that's where Interlace falls in. So our model is a premium IT service model. We run on a subscription pricing model, meaning we price per user per month. And then all of the service is bundled up into that one price. So the organization knows how much they're going to pay every month. If they add more employees, they'll pay a little bit more. But essentially within that, we bundle our service into 3 components. And this is where kind of the premium nature of the service comes in. There's IT strategy, meaning we're going to help with your IT roadmap. We're going to help you plan for the future. Know if you need to, at some point, migrate from, you know, one system to another. Think about your IT security and compliance, et cetera. So that's one component of the service. You get an account manager who's kind of building that out for you. The second component of the service is IT support. So you have a support team who you can call. We integrate in chat, Slack. We integrate into Microsoft Teams. So it's not like you're putting in a ticket into a big portal and then waiting to get an email response. Somebody should get back to you quickly. We also do, you know, either Zoom or Google Meet meetings as well with the clients, and we can remote in and fix things. So that second bucket is just overall IT support. And then the last piece is just thinking about security and compliance. And so we have a suite of tools that would deploy in different packages for different size organizations. So on the high end, it's it's a package that helps these companies get ready for, say, like SOC 2 or HIPAA compliance. And so that's the overall service in a nutshell. It's really the value proposition is we'll give you access to an entire IT organization against, if these businesses are growing, they're thinking about hiring an IT manager. We have 60 folks within the organization that we can call on from different sets of skills to handle different problems, cross-functional kind of IT department. And so we can give them that service for a fraction of what they would have to pay if they were to hire an IT manager or staff an entire IT department. And so that's a little bit of the business model. Again, the subscription pricing model we feel really strongly about. We're incentivized to keep our clients' IT program healthy. The more they have to call in, the more they have to chat, Slack, the more tickets they open. That means we have to staff more. And so our incentive is to keep our clients healthy and working well. Whereas more like the break fix model, those IT programs or those IT companies are incentivized just to come back every time something breaks. And then in the world of IT service, there's a few things that we're known for. A little that we stand out. Most IT service firms are heavily in the PC and Microsoft realm. Interlace has built a reputation for being Apple experts as well as Google experts. Another thing that makes us unique in the IT service space is we have a nationwide remote first service offering, whereas most IT service firms are hyper local. Hey, we're your Northeast Dallas computer techs, or we're your Central Phoenix computer experts. And then the last piece is we staff individuals, and we go through a hiring process to make sure we have a team that's friendly, engaging, and so kind of contra to the typical IT support experience, where the technicians can be kind of gruff and just really focused on the technology. We have this overall people focused culture. And so in general, that's a description of the organization, a little bit of the organizational structure, as well as the service and the value proposition. Any questions on all of that? Cool. We've got a couple questions. Jeremy, is it Jeremiah?
It's Jeremy. Hey, thanks
Jeremy.
for coming on, Justin.
Yeah.
So my question is going to be, you mentioned that you have remote people all over for handling your customers and your clients. Is there ever, how much of it is actually in person requires, or you can't remote in and you need someone to kind of go in store or in location to be able to solve their problem?
Yeah, it's a great question. In 99% or more of the cases, we solve everything remotely. So we install agents on the computers that allow us to remote in. We have a suite of tools that allow us to provide remote service for the computers, for email, for networks. And so we do all of that remotely. There are situations where we do go on site, and a lot of times it's if the remote troubleshooting fails, connectivity, things like that. So if it's in one of our core markets, we'll send one of our folks. So we operate in San Diego, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Orange County. And if it's outside of that, we have a partner network that we can call on to go on site. Most of the time, it's literally just like cycling power, plugging things on and off, or plugging things in again. For higher end projects, we'll either fly our people or we'll subcontract it. For instance, if we're going to install a network in a new office building, or if we're going to migrate a bunch of things from an on-premises server to the cloud. So some of those larger projects, we'll fly our people out, and those are kind of separate engagements to the subscription. Did I answer your question?
You did. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay, cool. All right, question from Georgino.
Justin, if I was, in a hypothetical sense, if I was to put out, let's say my computer was acting up, it crashed, etc., what's my turnaround time? Will I get someone, how soon can I get help?
Yeah, so we have a goal internally. It's not a published SLA, service level agreement, but we have a system and a process we call mission control, and mission control is ingesting all of those kinds of tickets Our goal is the first touch within 5 minutes. And so somebody should be responding on Slack or on phone, etc. And then depending on the type of issue, for, we'll have somebody with you for something that's mission critical like that, like literally you can't work. We'll have somebody with you in a matter of minutes. If it's something longer term, like access level change, things like that, it could, usually we aim for same business day.
Thank you.
Yep. Jen's got his hand up.
Hello, Justin. What are your target clients?
Yeah, we'll get into, if it's okay, I'll table that because we do have some slides on that.
Okay.
Cool. All right, let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and press on then. Mission at Interlace is to form strategic people-focused IT partnerships, and then we add that we would like to work with mission-driven organizations. For us, it just really makes it more worthwhile. IT service can be a hard business if you're just getting tickets in every day, and nobody submits tickets when things are going great. It's not like, hey, computer's working fine today. Well, here's a ticket. And so for us, we really put a premium on that service element. It's not just providing a good service, it's providing good service that helps people do more with their mission and build their business or serve their constituents. And so the way we do that is we want to make sure that our service is in the military parlance like a force multiplier. They're able to do more. They spend less time worrying about IT and more time doing what it is they need to do. So that's the mission. We believe that every business, nonprofit, startup deserves an IT program that's of an enterprise quality. So just because they're a small business, most of the time when clients come to us, they've hacked it together. Maybe it's HR, maybe it's the COO, maybe it's the founder who's kind of stakeholding the IT program. And at a certain level, it becomes too much. It's not what they do. They don't enjoy it. They're not trained on it. If they're going to hire somebody, it's hard to manage. And so we have a process to help our clients get much more healthy in their IT program. And the goal is that they don't have to suffer or accept less just because they're a 20-person company, not a 2,000-person company. And then the overall purpose why we get up every day is to help propel our clients forward. The core values, we went through a process shortly after I joined to try to redefine the core values. The core values weren't listed there. Where they were listed, they were didn't match. And so this kind of going back to that overall sense of service and what makes us unique, we surveyed our clients. We surveyed our teammates. What do you like about working about Interlace? What do you like about your teammates? If you picture like the perfect Interlace person, what do they do? And so that's how we got to these values. And again, they all kind of go back to that overall sense of service to our clients, but also how we want the team dynamic at Interlace to be. And so all these values you can think of as client facing, but also team facing. And so we have a few ways that we reinforce the values. One is we do interview questions. So I don't know how common this is at the companies I've worked for. They've all had kind of values-based first interview round. So as you think about transitioning, one thing you would want to do is take a look at the core values of the company. We ask questions that tie to these to try to get a sense of, are they going to be a good Interlace fit? So that's step one. We also go over these on day one orientation. We have a system called Bonusly where anybody in the company can give a bonus to anybody at any time. And those are all tied to the core values. And so it's a kind of a digital bonus, and you can use it to redeem for gift cards, Amazon gift cards, dining out, travel, things like that. But those all have to be tied to a core value. And then we do a core value of the week at our all hands, and we do a discussion and do shout outs based on that. So core value is super important, especially when you think about a service business, because and for our service or our sales team, like there's thousands of meetings that happen every day with our clients, with prospective clients, and we can't be there for even a fraction of them. And so that's to us why the core values are so important. I have this in here just as a example of how we stay intact. We're not going to cover it too much, but this is our strategic one-page plan. It just has all the things that we want to do to continue to grow the team. When we look for new teammates, these are some of the things that actually tie to the core values, but this is essentially our scorecard. So when we're working through, we have a plus minus score for each of the core values, and then we have these what are called A player principles. And so we want to look for people who learn fast, who not just make the company better, but make their teammates better, who create value and drive change, make Interlace more fun and inclusive. And these kind of A player tenets are essentially our scorecard as we're thinking about who would be a good Interlace client or a good Interlace teammate as we're going through the hiring process. So that's a little bit of the mission, vision, values, and also the type of teammates we like to bring on. And you'll see like all of that has nothing to do with experience. It has nothing to do with skill set, et cetera. But that's the first step. We go through the values-based screening first, and then we go into a more detailed kind of technical or functional screen for the skills that are required to do the job. Any questions on that? Yeah, Georgino, let me know. Am I saying that correctly? Sorry.
Yes, you are.
Okay, great.
Yeah. My apologies for all these questions.
Yeah.
I just really admire your company here. You said that the values before you were there, they weren't really aligned. What were some values that you had to change?
Yeah, so to be clear, the values I think were like perfectly fine. They were just maybe misaligned with the way people were operating. And so when I think about core values, are they memorable? Like, do people actually know what they are? Are they a little bit aspirational, meaning they should be something to live up to? It's not just like, do we do this every day? And then also, are they in line with the type of people you want to bring on? And so we had, for instance, we had a lot of tag words. Like we had a lot of like data driven. We had a lot of, we're what was it? Constantly innovating, like things like that, which just kind of overall felt like just industry buzzwords. And so those were some of the changes. And then really we wanted the team to have a stake in defining what they were, because if we're going to ask them to live up for them, they want to make sure that we kind of pull them. So those were all the reasons for the change. It's just making sure that it was a little bit speaking to our personality. It was speaking to the type of service that we want to deliver. And it was a tool to help us recruit, select, train, and retain the high-performing team.
Thank you.
Cool. All right. So just this is a sampling of our team. When I joined the company in 2019, we were 16 people, and we just hired our 60th employee, which is really cool. We've been growing organically through sales and marketing, and then we've also acquired 2 companies. One of them is not yet public, so we won't go into detail there. But the other one we acquired 318 Technologies in October of 2021, so about 7 months ago. And they're all pretty well integrated into the team. They're all Interlace employees. They're still operating the 318 brand in our Los Angeles market. So this is the team. Pardon. So this is a little sample of where the team are located. We've got people all over the country, but with the majority of the team being in California. And then we have 5 teammates in Manila, Philippines, who are doing kind of early morning, late night support, as well as filling out some gaps during the day. And that's the team. Just a sample of our clients. So we work with, like we mentioned, mission-driven companies who are making a positive impact in the world. We're very proud to support, I think, 6 veteran-focused either nonprofits or businesses. Honor Foundation, Shift.org, Sales Platoon. So we're really proud about being able to do that just personally for my personal mission and background. Aptera is a really cool new client that just came on board. They build a completely solar powered car, so that it never needs to be charged for daily commutes. So you can do up to a 40-mile round trip commute without ever having to plug in. You go further than that, you can plug in. And then there's just a lot of other cool technology companies, innovative cosmetics companies, brands. And so we like to, when I joined, we had a heavy focus on the design and creative industries, meaning brand studios, advertising agencies, digital marketing firms. And that was great. But what we learned was a lot of these other companies have similar needs, and we could serve them really well. And so we've scaled kind of laterally across industries, but we wanted to maintain that kind of overall sense of creativity and innovation, because of they tend to rely on the types of tools that we excel in, Apple, Google, and some of the kind of creative applications. And so those are just a sampling of the types of companies we work with. But the three big verticals for us are nonprofits, the kind of brand creative design, and then software companies. Any questions on the client base? Yeah, Jeremy?
Hey, Justin, are you trying to focus I know you're probably getting into this a little bit later, but is your target market area, all these customers, you trying to focus around California and where you are, or are you trying to be just nationwide in general, since you are primarily remote?
Yeah, the latter. We have a remote focused service, and so we can scale nationwide. One of the things that's really tough from a targeting perspective is figuring out the kinds of companies who are operating in a remote environment. So it's a little bit easier now. There's a lot more just generally remote focused work from home companies that benefit from our type of service. It was much more difficult pre-COVID, but from a targeting perspective, it's a little bit difficult. So if we're spending money advertising or going to events or spending like business development hours, we do those in our core markets just because we feel like there's network effects, right? If we're going to spend advertising dollars all over the United States, it's really hard. But our core markets, we feel like we have a lot of room to grow, and we benefit in our business as a trusted advisor services-based business. Most of your reputation and a lot of your leads come from referrals. And so our philosophy is that we're going to spend money advertising, going to events, networking in our core markets. And we don't spend a lot of time, like, for instance, cold calling nationwide, or we have targeted ads in our market. We don't have nationwide ads. But I think by nature of doing that, you can build circles of influence within those regions that are stronger than, if you broadcast everywhere. It gets really expensive to try to advertise and target companies at your core market. So that's kind of maybe a long-winded answer to your question, but that's our strategy. Cool. All right. So we've a few more cool organizations. So again, like we feel really strongly, and the niche that we've been able to carve out are these kind of creative and innovative organizations. And the niche that we hold in our customers' mind, we don't advertise this, is that we have the capability to do really well for organizations that are heavily reliant on Apple technology. And so it's a small portion of what we do, but it's a big differentiator. So that's something that we lean into in marketing and from a business development strategy. So that's a lot about the company. I'll kind of quickly go through some of our service metrics. We've got about 160 customers today that we're effectively their IT program. We run a customer net promoter score survey every year that just gets data back on how are we doing for the customer. Is everybody familiar with the term net promoter score? So and it's kind of a survey tool. From a marketing perspective, it just lets you know, are your customers likely to refer them? And that's kind of the highest mark of service, is if they're willing to refer you to friends. And so anything above a 0 is actually a pretty good score. 0 to 10 is good, 10 to 30 is great, and 30 plus is excellent. And so we have on our projects that we do for our clients, and then for our customers that we're managing the IT department, we have really strong metrics. And then we also measure every single ticket that comes in. We give a thumbs up, thumbs down. That leads into customer satisfaction. And so for the thousands and thousands of tickets that come in every day, I think trending this quarter, we're at about a 99%. So really, really good service metrics as well. Not to say that we don't have issues and we don't have challenges and things like that, but across the 160 clients, we're doing very well. So with that, we'll pivot into an overview of what sales and marketing looks like at Interlace. So we talked a little bit about the market focus. I've got snapshots of the cities where our clients are headquartered. You can see a heavy concentration in the West Coast, and specifically in the markets in California, just because that's where our teams are. That's where we're running ads and doing events and things like that. But through referrals and through word of mouth, we're getting clients kind of all over the country. And then through the transition to work from home and pandemic and things like that, our users, so the thousands and thousands of employees of our clients that are supported, have kind of shotgunned all over the country. And we've seen this kind of big migration that's actually contributed to our growth to a certain degree. The company that maybe the founder moves to Idaho from San Diego is going to reach out back out to their San Diego network and look for referrals. And then we saw just a mass migration of our user base outside of California as well. So we're now supporting users in almost every state in about 25 countries around the world. Again, we talked about core markets. Really, it's just the San Diego, Orange County, Los Angeles metros, and then San Francisco. And then we recently acquired a small company in Washington, D.C. So that's kind of our first entrance into the East Coast. We typically look for companies that are between 20 and 250. Below that, a lot of times there's not the complexity of the organization or the kind of operational needs to require our service. And above 250, typically that's the time when they're going to start to necessitate bringing in their own IT department, and that's where our overall value proposition starts to break down. So that sweet spot from 20 to 250 is where we focus. We talked about the types of companies we tend to service, and then job titles. These are our like key decision makers. A lot of times the folks who are stakeholding the IT program for the company as they're growing, and they're the ones that feel the pain. So those are kind of the influencers. Those are like the EA, maybe the people ops, HR director. Those people are kind of wearing IT as a second hat. A lot of times it'll be IT will roll up to like the VP of finance or the CFO. They're just kind of getting by until they get to a certain stage. And then above that, they become the kind of like budget boss or the budget owner for IT. And so these are the kind of roles that we're looking to network with, and these are the types of roles that we're getting on calls for sales conversations. Any questions on that? Okay, cool. And then just a little bit of our tool stack. We do LinkedIn Sales Navigator. We also run LinkedIn ads with the LinkedIn Campaign Manager. We also do paid placements and paid search on Google. We use ZoomInfo a little bit. We probably way underutilize this, but it's a really powerful tool for being able to pull information, call information, et cetera, for clients. We use PandaDoc for all of our quoting, for our agreements. We love PandaDoc. It just helps really standardize and templatize our agreements. And our agreements are pretty complex because we do so much for the clients. And so we love PandaDoc because it can help us standardize and get quotes out quickly. And then it also ties in with the rest of our tool stack. And so our CRM is HubSpot. This is just an example of a snapshot from our pipeline. We manage pipeline in HubSpot for new client sales, as well as upsells and project sales. So we have kind of, those are the three kind of pipelines. We also use this to manage for our customer success team to manage client health. So when's the last time we had a check-in? How is the relationship trending? Who do we need to focus more time on, as well as what are the opportunities that we can do to help our clients improve their technology stack. So we run all of that in HubSpot, and then HubSpot's also tied in to our email. It's also tied in to our website, and it's also tied back to LinkedIn and Google for ads. So we're tracking all of that here. It's a big part of Carter's role as a SkillBridge fellow. He's doing some internal consulting for us, helping us to optimize our HubSpot instance to make sure it's working really well for the sales team, for the CSM team, for the marketing team, but more so the connectivity of those things. So when does marketing hand off a deal to sales? When does sales need to notify marketing that this client's not interested, but we should stay in touch? And so that's Carter's been building out all of those processes. So that's our sales tool stack at Interlace. Any questions? Cool. And then, oh yeah, we've got a question from Dylan.
Hey, appreciate you coming out. Just a quick question, if you can't answer it. How big is your sales team right now, like numbers wise?
Yeah, good question. So let me jump ahead a little bit.
Oh, my bad.
So we've got a bunch of people, and again, we're growing. We're still a small company, but growing. And so we've been building out the sales team. When we think about sales and marketing, there's a bunch of folks. I'm still very involved as the founder, as well as our general managers of our LA and DC market. The primary role for them is thinking about and actioning how to grow their team and their market. So they're still very involved in closing business, closing deals. We have a director of client partnerships who's essentially wearing a few hats. He's kind of the business development director as well for the core Interlace brand. He's on point for closing new partnerships. And then Carter, as our SkillBridge fellowship, he's kind of wearing the sales and growth operations hat. So managing our sales processes, sales enablement, making sure the HubSpot tools are working well. And then he's also doing some analysis on our customer base to try to feed back into the sales and marketing process. So there's a few people there. So me plus 4 on sales. We don't have anybody as like a SDR or BDR today. A lot of our leads are coming from events, are coming from referrals, and coming from campaigns and ads. Customer success, we have 5 roles today across the 3 brands we're operating, and so that's the CS role. Their role is kind of split between client retention, pure client success, and selling projects and upsells to our agreements. And then we have a SkillBridge fellow who just committed to come on board and do the customer success operations role as well. So he'll be joining in September to try to similar to what Carter's doing, but for customer success. And then we have one marketing leader and an ad agency. So that's kind of the growth team, if you will. So that's to answer your question, there's about 10 or 11 people who are involved out of 60. Yep. All right, Jeremy.
Hey, Justin, you've mentioned a couple of times now about special projects. What kind of special projects are you getting into? Is it different from where you're or from what you're talking about now, or is it more just like finely tuned?
Yeah. So the core service, the subscription, the per user per month pricing includes strategy support, so road mapping, scoping, figuring out how we're going to deal with like security and compliance, things like that. Support, the actual end user support. Anybody in the company can call in at any time and get unlimited amounts of IT support, and then a core set of tools for security and compliance. So that's the core subscription. We price that based on the sales conversation, the needs analysis, and then we build a scope that gets them what they need now. And then when we talk about special projects, those are things like migrations. Hey, we need to migrate your organization from Microsoft 365 to Google, or you just acquired a company. That company's on Google and your company's on Microsoft. We need to merge the 2 email systems together. So those are kinds of projects that take a lot of time, require a special scope, and require project management. And so for those reasons, there's no foreseeable way to price those into the core service. I have no idea if 2 years down the road, your organization is going to build a mega headquarters and need to build this giant, massive network. And so there's no way to price those kinds of projects in. So those are the projects we're talking about. They're migrations, hardware deployments, things like that. On the right is just a screenshot. I'm really proud of the work that Carter's been doing. So this is a screenshot. He's been kind of aligning our HubSpot processes with our actual sales and marketing processes. And so this is just kind of an overview of that. Any other questions on what we do here at Interlaced or on our sales and marketing kind of strategy function? Yeah, Dylan or Jeremy?
Sorry, last question. What's your primary revenue stream for your business? Like, what's the biggest bringer of revenue?
Yeah, the subscriptions. So we're a managed services provider. And so our strategy is to grow our managed services base. And so that's the core function. And from just a business leadership perspective, it's much easier to manage a recurring revenue stream. And so our contracts are typically 12 to 24 months. And the clients are paying anywhere from $1,000 to $30,000 a month for us to do their IT service, depending on the size and the scope of what they're what's involved. Yeah. Georgina?
Hey, Justin, I was just curious, what is your estimated growth for the next 4 years? Are you planning to grow your team to, let's say, 2 more sales reps in this next quarter, or?
Yeah, great question. We have an overall goal. We set this strategic, audacious goal of 5xing the company in 5 years. And so we're halfway through that plan right now. So that's a really audacious goal for an IT services firm. IT services firms tend to grow 5 to 10% per year. And that goal would require us to grow almost 10% every month. And so we're on track. We're ahead of track of that goal, which is really cool. One of the things I always like to say is goals are magnetic. So when you plant that goal, then you start to organize the team, you start to organize your supporting processes and things like that. So with that goal, if we just think proportionally, if somewhere around 5 to 10% of the team, we're a service-based organization, so we need lots of IT systems engineers to support the clients. We're like heavily people focused, and so 10% growth. We plan to be upwards of 100 people in the next 2 years at the end of that growth plan. And so I think the next moves will be to be bringing on people who are focused on kind of what you think about the SDR and BDR types of services, as well as growing the customer success team. And the customer success team also has a sales component as well. So I would expect that by the end of this year, we're looking at hiring our first full-time BDR. And then within 2 to 3 years, we're growing that team, as well as adding more like account executives and customer success managers.
Thank you.
All right, I think we've probably got time for one more question, unless Raleigh, do you need him back to close it out? Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody.
I was trying to get off mute.
Oh,
trying
yeah.
to get off mute
Nice.
there.
Nice.
I couldn't get myself off the mute to get back over to you, but no, that's great. So Justin, really appreciate the presentation coming out today. Definitely really useful. So Lonnie, were you going to take the picture today? Is Lonnie on? Lonnie is not on. So let's get, who's our, all right, got it. All right, let's get our picture. So pictures down, countdown from 3. So
hold on.
All right.
I'm trying to pull it up so it's everybody on there.
Yeah.
We're just doing the. Nope, that wasn't it. Justin, is there any way you could pull down your?
I can, yeah. Let me see.
Thank you, appreciate it.
There you go.
All right, here we go. And, all right, 3, 2, 1. I believe I got it.
All right, well, hopefully so. All right, Justin, well, thanks, brother. It's up on our Facebook sites if you want to send it out to family, friends, or whatever. Very impactful, very useful as always. So thanks for sharing so much the background details on how you guys are going to market as well. I think that's really useful. Obviously, Carter, if there's anything you need, feel free to reach out. You're always welcome to drop in on a class bar. So You know, we're doing murder boarding this afternoon. If you want to know what that feels like, you're welcome to join in. So Justin will get us in touch, and go from there.
All right. Thanks everybody. Thanks for all the questions and